It's a true honor to introduce President Olaf Lindner, President of the Federal Police, Directorate 11, Germany, to the dais to address us. Before that, though, I wish to welcome Diane, your partner, who keeps you in check because she's a senior officer retired in the Israeli police and was in charge of Interpol in Brussels. So she doesn't allow you to get into any monkey business. Okay? You're a great couple. And Professor Reichman and myself are so thankful for your hospitality in Berlin. Just a few weeks ago, I think it was, when we came to your palatial headquarters, and we were treated like Mensches, right, Professor Reichman? Like Mensches. You treated us like Mensches, and thank you very much. President Olaf Lindner began his long-standing career as a team and platoon leader in the German army. He has served in various leadership roles, including commander of the elite police force tactical unit GSG-9, and as an advisor to the Minister of Public Security in Afghanistan. He currently serves as the president of the Federal Police Special Operations Command 11 that encompasses all units who are tasked with dealing with terrorist threats, organized crime, and complex large-scale attacks. Boy, we could use you over here, actually. You could replace a few people in this country, believe me. No problem. In the leadership here. So please, take the stand. I would say one more thing. The Jewish community in Germany and the state of Israel are damned lucky to have a person like you in your position. I know your friendship with Professor Ganor goes way back, and we're lucky to have someone who understands the need to fight terrorism. Olaf, the floor is yours.
Honored Professor Reichman, Professor Melnick, Professor Ganor, dear Boris, Vice President Davis, dear Jonathan, Colonel Eisin, incoming Managing Director, distinguished guests, and dear colleagues. First of all, I want to express my condolences to the family of the Honorable Shabtai Shavit, to the family of the Reichman University, and to the former service of Shabtai Shavit. And as a Special Forces commander and as a leader, I want to express my deepest respect for all the achievements Mr. Shabtai Shavit has made. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to be here today and to be able to speak to you from my own perspective about the risks and opportunities for special forces in hybrid threat situations. In this presentation, I will explore the question, how do we get and how do we stay on top of the situation? 51 years ago, almost to the day, we took the first step. We all remember the terrible attack by the Palestinian terrorist group Black September on the Israeli Olympic team on the 5th of September 1972 in Munich, which resulted in the murder of 11 Israeli athletes and 1 German police officer after a failure of German politicians and the German security services to act. Let us reflect on the consequences. German-Israeli diplomatic crisis, numerous victims, and lifelong personal suffering of the victims' families. Despite the failures, the tragic event became a key reference point for the development of the special forces in Germany, as well as in Europe, and for the beginning of an extraordinary international cooperation between Israeli and German special forces. Ladies and gentlemen, what did we see? Close cooperation, solidarity, and comradeship between the Israeli Yamam and German GSG-9 counter-terrorist units. To this day, we are deeply grateful to our Israeli friends and comrades for supporting the establishment of the GSG-9 Special Forces unit in the aftermath of the terrible attack in Munich. Without these comrades, the GSG-9 would not be what it is today. Together with Yamam, a spearhead in the national and international fight against terrorism. Back then, courage and quick action were used to turn a crisis into an opportunity. How is the situation today? In the last 10 years, the complexity of social circumstances has continued to increase, and our systemic combat structures have reached their capacity limits. The reasons for this are political, social, and technological changes that are occurring at the same time, which are becoming increasingly apparent and are currently being felt all around the world, such as wars, conflicts, climate change, and digital revolutions. One consequence is that we have to adapt our German combat structures at home and abroad. Another consequence is that in times of crisis, such as these special leadership skills are required. Agile leadership is an essential and at the same time critical factor here, because it is crucial if I see first the opportunities or first the risks. This brings me to the question, what special skills are required in terms of leadership? At a time when we clearly need leaders who can shape and change the course of events. My basic premises are, first, less focus on control-based hierarchical structures and more on trust-based team responsibility and a high degree of adaptability in dealing with situations. Second, less focus on regulation density and more on high flexibility, quick decision-making processes and the binding assumption of leadership and responsibility in the interaction between managers and self-confident employees. In times of crisis, situations can change quickly. Managers must adapt to this change. They must be able to develop alternative solutions and act quickly when circumstances dictate. Leaders must also be prepared for uncertainty by maintaining a positive attitude and staying open to new opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion, a leadership mindset that results from this is characterized by three core competencies. First, strategic competence. Second, communication skills. Third, quick decision-making and accountability competence. In my view, these leadership skills are now needed more urgently than ever because modern crisis leadership requires clear management structures which must also be reflected in transparent levels of responsibility. The higher the level, the greater the willingness to take risks should be, and likewise, the greater the willingness to assume responsibility. My commitment to this is deep because of what I see happening in my day-to-day work. For example, recently during the evacuation of diplomats and citizens from Sudan in April of this year, we deployed our special forces to protect and rescue German citizens. We conducted a major joint operation with the German armed forces in which we managed to bring everyone that needed to be evacuated back to Germany in good health. We have had similar experiences with other foreign missions as well as in the fight against terrorism, extremism, and organized crime in Germany, such as the recent arrest of a right-wing terrorist group, the so-called Reich Citizens members. This brings me to the next question. What does contemporary crisis management from a special forces perspective look like? On the one hand, it integrates omnipresent drivers such as organized crime, cyber terrorism, and politically motivated disinformation campaigns. It also encompasses environmental catastrophes, wars, and other conflicts, as well as worldwide, also state-controlled refugee movements towards Europe, in particular to Germany. For all intents and purposes, the strategic and operational handling of terrorism is also up for review. In particular, the intervention threshold for coordinated state action in time-critical cases of state-directed acts of terrorism on German territory or against its citizens or institutions abroad. This measure will massively influence the willingness of other states to attack, but also the quality of our liberal society. On the one hand, we will have to focus more intensively on the strategic motives of potential and active terrorists nationwide. And on the other hand, we will have to give top priority to combating international terrorism using police, intelligence, and military resources. This way, we can at least limit it effectively and improve our resilience. However, it remains a long-term threat that can be exploited at any time. We always have to be prepared with state-of-the-art strategies for this and must have the appropriate flexible responses at the ready. Other decisive drivers include the capabilities of our special forces and their multilateral interoperability, the shortage of specific expertise and adaptable legislation. This applies, among other things, to multilateral technical operational support, for example, by means of open source intelligence linked to data from the security authorities at home and abroad. The extent to which these drivers will influence our future positively or negatively, whether they take the form of opportunity or risks, is largely in our hands. One thing is certain: the level of trust in national governments, in their institutions, and thus also in their special forces is likely to depend on the totality of the resulting decisions. In Germany, from an analytical perspective, the trend towards centralizing national crisis management for integrated security, by this we mean internal, external, and cybersecurity, is an ongoing process. This paves the way for the formation of a process-oriented and clearly structured core cell in the form of a permanent crisis management team with a high decision-making level as a possible course of action. In any case, this organizational element for the crisis management of Germany's integrated security would have the potential to involve many positive assessments, in other words, opportunities, and to strategically counteract risks. Implementing mandatory structures, strategic capabilities, and operational functions means using the opportunity to develop crisis management capabilities. Structural changes are occasionally required to adapt to rapidly changing hybrid threat scenarios and generate timely, compact responses. At the same time, disruptive management including the tearing down of silos, can offer the opportunity for creating an improved and more crisis-proof security architecture. In line with the motto, "Bring professional heads together in a crisis," it is important to become acquainted with similar structures and contact persons around the globe. In an ideal situation, international cooperation in crisis management should be institutionalized and coordinated at a central point, since the nation-state is not always able to adequately counter complex threats on its own. I do not believe that rivalry and competition are the measure of all things. Institutionalized partnerships and excellent teamworks among all special forces units, which must also be reflected in the technical and tactical interoperability, seems to me to be the more suitable approach. We must recognize that the phenomena of terrorism, extremism, and organized crime that we are dealing with are increasingly intertwined. That's why we need to network in a more structurally pervasive and coordinated manner. By this, I don't just mean among the special forces. My intention is also aimed at business and science in order to take a holistic approach to addressing the increased complexity of phenomena and to develop new solutions. We need a positive vision of the future which enables us to counter the widely acknowledged development of threat trends and resulting scenarios, and also includes strategic foresight on all levels and in each relevant organization. As a commander and as a representative of the Special Forces community, it is important to clarify the necessary transformation processes for special forces and also to learn from other countries. Small-minded thinking creates antiquated thought patterns. Key critical success factors and advantages of trustful cooperation are improving personnel and technological collaboration, boosting synergies at national and international levels, developing personnel and technological resilience, increasing adaptability. Our maxim is, we tackle our opponents with speed and surprise. Ladies and gentlemen, what is the essence? My conclusion. Crises are also opportunities. They bring about change processes that we can influence. That's why I believe it is necessary to continually develop special skills to handle uncertainty when dealing with crisis. What is crucial here is a leadership mindset that sees change as an opportunity. In the future, we security managers will all be surfing the waves of uncertainty. This makes the joint defense of our liberal democracies at national and international levels all the more important. Thank you very much for your attention. Toda rabba. Shana tova. Shana tova to all of you. Thank you.